morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank that I've been given this opportunity to moderate a very senior panel here. And I think the panel discussion, people are from very different backgrounds. Most of them are heading their GCCs and so let's start. So my first question is, how has GCC leadership evolved from delivery management to enterprise technology ownership? And let me select Biju. Biju, can you go ahead and share your experiences around it?
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a gradual progress, as we see, right? It's a multi-decadal progress. Today, we employ more than 2.2 million people. We have around 2,200 plus GCCs, 90 billion plus revenues. But when the GCC started off in India, it was started as a back office or kind of support centers. I mean, strategy was formulated somewhere else. Execution used to happen within our country. So probably that was the right fit for the model that particular point of time, I think. But as we see, the progress has been, gradual, and the GCCs have evolved into more engineering excellence, right? So over the period of time, the GCC platform has become more value creators, which has added great value for the organizations, and there is a lot of recognition for Indian GCCs came on the way. I think the leadership in GCC in our country has played a very vital role here, right? The leaders took the role of product leaders at global stage, and because of that positioning, they were able to leverage the talent pool in our country. They were able to build strong talent in tech space. Along with that, they were able to build the P&L ownership because the first two things have been, done incredibly well. So I would say this progress has been gradual, and today, if you look at my own company, an IT company, I mean a software enterprise application company, which is started in 1996 in our country with 100 people, with an acquired company, a German company, is grown to a size of 17,000 people. So 30 years, this is the scale of growth we have had, and we are every slice and dice of the program that we run globally part of our Indian portfolio. That's the growth we have seen in our country.
Yeah, thanks, Biju. What about you, Ravindhar? Do you want to add anything on this?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. I think it is like Biju said, right, it is a journey. First of all, before that, I think thanks for this opportunity to both Quantech as well as to the moderator. Hello, yeah. So as Biju said, it is a journey, right? So I think fundamentally, if you see any organizations has to go through this journey in a way that, the way I put it is like 4 E's, right? Evolving the organization, how to execute on what you wanted to execute, and engage in the conversation that you have to have, and then, and also empower the people. So basically it's all centered around the people, customer, and product that you wanted to deliver, product or services, in a way that, how well you are executing, and then how are you going to evolve your organization in a way that, what are the technological shifts that are happening in the industry, or a specific vertical, and also how am I going to be relevant in the workforce that workforce or the vertical that I am focusing on. And in that process, how do we empower the teams that we are working together, right? That will actually shape the organization in a journey where primarily would have been a cost-centric approach to a strategic, a hub for the entire company as a whole, right? So what it means is that, so when we have to deliver value to our global organization in both, not only from a bottom line standpoint of view, and also from a perspective of revenues. So constantly you need to start looking at ways in which that, how are we measuring my success? Am I delivering a task that I've been asked to deliver? Or am I creating a, internal value in a way that, that is creating a differentiated offering to the product or a service or whatever be the business that you're in a way that, it is generating a revenue opportunities, right? So when we start thinking in that mindset, naturally your actions under the ground, all the way from very junior engineers to even to the top leaders, will change. And in that process, the roles and responsibilities of the group is also changes rapidly. I think that's where actually, we kind of start looking at it in a way that, how do you evolve the organization? How do you empower the people? How do you execute? Because we have been traditionally pretty good at executing what has been asked to deliver.
Yeah, thanks for sharing these four E's. Actually, these are very important. So, what about you, Swami? You are coming from an insurance sector. So, can you throw some light on your perspective around it?
Am I audible? Okay. I think things are changing if you look from an industry standpoint. Previously, if you look at GCC, how we were evolving was we were having projects, programs, bigger initiatives. I think now with AI coming, I would say technology is getting democratized. So what is going to be differentiator is the domain knowledge that you have. So what we are trying to do, at least in Sun Life, is how can we have the engineers gain more domain knowledge? Because once you gain more domain knowledge, technology is your ability to solve the problem, right? The domain knowledge gives the clarity. So combining domain knowledge, which gives clarity, and technology, which gives capability, actually that becomes more of a self-empowerment as well. So one of the things which we are trying to do is increase domain knowledge, ensure that people adopt AI as well, but in a governed way. What we don't want is plethora of agents roaming around here and there, right? So the three principles that we are following is domain knowledge, technology, but in a governed way.
Sure, thanks. I think coming from insurance sector, it is more regulated, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what about you, Yogesh? You are coming from Diageo. Everybody loves you.
Fine. So I hope I am audible to you. Good morning, everyone. So I have seen overall means 25 years of experience. So I have seen very closely the transformation from an operation management, delivery management to GCC centric kind of ways of working. So now things have changed. Now it is not to limited scope. It is not a boundary. It is a kind of moving from the kind of a defined scope to undefined scope. It is not about the what you are asked to deliver. It is all about the what business value you are generating, what is the end user experience, and what is the contribution to business. It is only not working within the kind of your delivery center within the set of peoples, but collaboration with the all segment of people from the business, from the product owners, from the end user, application developer. So they see how means we are generating value. It is not because previously it was only limited to SLAs. It is all limited to scope, budget, and the timelines to be delivering the project. But is not now the things are changing. If small project of 100K, suppose anybody is delivering and assuming that I have delivered my project successfully, it is not like that. It is compared with the entire business value and how they have generated the business value, how the contribution has come to that perspective. So it is not from the collaboration with the business, but also from the IT. So some of the repeated kind of events or kind of a problem or pain areas is happening. So they involve the emerging and evolving technologies to involve people and see how we can bring value with new ideas and with adopting new technologies. So this is a totally different ways of working from operations. So a couple of examples I can share. So maybe in operation management, I have seen very closely the repeat incidents are coming about people were having the forgot password and everything. So they evolved the technologies of single sign-on, and all the application owners just brought this idea. They adopted this technology, and means we integrated all the applications with the single sign-on. So it reduced not only the kinds of incidents, but brought the innovative ideas and security perspective as well. So these are the things I have seen. I have hundreds of examples which I have seen over the period of time, how the situations are changing. And one more important thing is all about the upskilling the team. This is also a very important role nowadays. So all the corporations and organizations are spending kind of a huge amount to upskill their people. in terms of a kind of not only from the technology perspective, but also from the process perspective, because compliance is playing a very significant role in the organization. So this is all about the collaboration of the delivery team, business team, IT team, and the other kind of application owners as well. So it is a kind of a good ways of working integrated with each other. So I have
thanks.
seen.
Yeah, thanks, Yogesh. I think I will pick up the skill part, what you are mentioning, and my next question is to Arpana, that what leadership skills matter more today? Is it a strategic thinking, influence, or a technical depth?
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. So I'll take probably just 1 second to connect this question to the previous one, right? Which I feel is very important, or if also in the future, it happened in the past, why the GCCs moved from operational to the way we are today, because there were some GCCs who took that leap, who took that risk, right? Who took that faith of making themselves a little uncomfortable and doing things which were not done usually, right? And that is what will be very important even in the future, right? At any stage you are, right, we need to break that norm, we need to break that status quo, right? And given connection to the question that we have now, what is more important, strategic influence or the technical depth? I think all three are important. I think that's an obvious answer, right? But why it is important is something that we probably need to look at. If you do not have the technical depth, you might not be able to make the right strategic decisions when you are on the table, right? You might be dependent on somebody to actually help you to make the right strategic decisions, right? And if you have not shown yourself, if you have not gained that credibility to influence your stakeholders, right? Your strategic thinking, even if you have the strategic thinking, you will not be able to bring that impact, right? Or you will not be able to pass it on, right? And actually have that impact in the GCCs coming from the GCCs, right? So all the three combinations are very important. All the three have to be earned over the years, right? There are ways to actually do it. And especially influence and strategic thinking, I would say, is probably the most important ones. Technical awareness is very important, right? Making the right technical judgment. I do not have to be aware of every coding language. I do not have to be aware of every tool that is available in the market. But making the right judgment, I think that will be very, very important. And influence, just one point that I will add on the influence. Sometimes we think influence for us is only to the CIOs or the CEOs and all of that, right? But it's not that. Sometimes you have to influence a finance guy. Sometimes you have to influence a product team. Sometimes you have to influence your architecture teams, right, in order to make the right decision. So there are different levels, and for all different roles, right, either it would be a GCC head or you are a manager or you are a lead, I think that influencing capability and strategic thinking and technical depth, I think these are important for all the roles, is what I would say.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Arpana. Lekha, you want to add something to this, to the same question?
Sure. Thank you. Good morning to all. I kind of, agree with what Arpana was saying, and to highlight the technical part. With AI, you don't have to be the best engineer in the room. You just need to know, be able to look at a model and say whether it's scalable, whether you can poke in architecture and find whether has issues in it, and make decisions that actually matter, in terms of scaling. But what more seems to be of important, especially in the last 2 years, is being able to, can you take a solution that's business or technically sound and make the business integrate it as a part of the strategic roadmap and bet their money on it. So being able to convince them is the main thing, because often AI solutions typically, they die after a POC because of the issue is the belief. That they need to believe in the product that you're bringing to the table. So this, ensuring that this lands, the final value of it lands well with the business and they run with it and they actually act as your advocate matters more in the recent times.
Yeah, thanks, Lekha. So Anu, you are heading Merck Group. And so how you are seeing things from Merck Group perspective around the same topic?
Thank you for asking this question. A very good morning to all of you. Merck is a 350-year-old company. For those who do not know, it has three sectors of business of healthcare, life sciences, and electronics. That tells that it's a very, very big organization with a very diverse business cultures. And having the technical depth is utmost important. So I'll take a very quick anecdote in terms of explaining how it has to work, or if you don't work that way, it somehow paralyzes. It's like making a Bollywood movie. You cannot be the actor, director, singer, actor, everything, right? So you have to have strengths of people come together. And when it is strengths of people coming together, that means you have to have your technical depth, you have to have the right people there. If you have to have someone who's good at marketing, you have to have them. If you have someone who is good at strategic thinking, you have to have them. So the blend of each of them, and we call in Merck collaborative leadership, that's the essence of any win and success when it comes to an organization which is setting up to head innovation. So in Merck, we do this a lot in practice because there is a mindset shift which had to happen from an authoritative, bureaucratic, one people leader driving everything to giving co-ownership to leaders and to be able to drive. Are we still there? We aren't fully, but that's the way we are progressing because that is what is going to bring value to all the organizations which we have.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Collaborative mindset is the key to success going forward. What about you, Nihar? I want to take this question now to you.
No. Yep. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity and good morning, everyone. I start with Arpana, what she mentioned, right? All 3 years needed. Being a GCC leader, I think the more critical part is you need to understand where is the bottleneck. What is really stopping you from moving? Because the whole intention behind setting up the GCC is to bring the capability of innovation and owning it completely from the P&L point of view. And for that, we need to have a smooth flow to understand where the bottlenecks are. And once we understand the bottleneck, that's where one of the 3 skill we will be implementing there. Normally what we do is kind of when we build the GCC from ground up or any new org we start freshly, right? We put lots of technical depth. And that's one of the key factor we introduced there. When on regular basis, I think everybody would be sitting on your global peer where we need to influence them with all the data point to ensure that the initiatives is going through or the required fund is coming here, the approvals are there, bring all of them into the common phase. And then, of course, right, to get anything done, we take it to our C-suite or the board to get and that's where our strategic thinking would come handy. So as a leader, all 3 are needed, but it's just that we need to identify where is the bottleneck and where we need to use it.
Sure. So taking the next question, which is to how do CIOs and GCC heads jointly build global stakeholder trust and influence in the GCC? So Ravindhar, you want to go for it?
Oh, sure. I think so we have organizations, right? So, and then we obviously all of us are here to kind of build the leadership, and then what kind of skills that we want to build in and things like that. Now, time to time, if you see, there are some hackathons that are happening in the organizations. There are product ideas that are coming up. There are a lot of things that we are driving as an initiatives, which are kind of transformative in nature, in an intent that hey, we want to do better every day. We are pushing our teams, our boundaries, and then making sure that value is getting generated against certain whatever OKRs that you have. But then, as a leader, how can I take those thought processes to a global forum where the idea or the thought process getting sold at a CIO level? So that means that we need to continuously build a place for ourselves in the round, in a global, along with the global leaders. That also means that there is a kind of a mindset that we needed to have, in the sense that we are all equal kind of a thing, rather than somebody is giving a job and then we are delivering. So that is a kind of a mindset change. As a site lead or as a global leader, when you are sitting with your CIO, you bring that kind of a perspective in a way that that you kind of influence the decision making. So what it means, right? You need to continue to build the trust, you continue to build the respect that you need to, and then also continue delivering on what you have been doing actually. So, and like Arpana said, I think how are we challenging our status quo, right? So these are the ideas that you strike, and then connect to the strategic thinking. Most of the times what also happens is we may be doing certain things which may not even be aligning to the global needs or strategic needs of the organization. So how do you connect those and then make those influences matters a lot, right? I think that's where the CIO and these leadership conversations makes a profound impact on the workforce that we're actually leading.
Thanks. So Swami, how is insurance company like yours is managing this?
Sure, thanks. So one other thing which we have, this advice to everybody, I would say, right? One thing which, at least in Sun Life, I'm lucky to have a good CIO to start with. So one thing that we are doing in Sun Life is, if you look at insurance and banking products, it's just not, when you say CIO, it's not a IT related, they are responsible for the products as well. So in our case, what is happening is, the first thing I was focusing when I joined was, what are the pain points or problem which the CIO is having, right? So focus on that. So starting with, in terms of, how do we reduce the run cost and focus on growth? That is one. Second is focus in terms of, if we have to be leader in terms of the process, right? For that, we are having two aspects. One is existing process, how do we simplify it using AI? Second is, how do we reimagine what should be the process look like, which is completely business transformation as well, not just technology transformation. That is the second aspect which the CIO is focusing on. Third is, with Mythos, everybody has heard, right? So security has become one of the key aspects. Third is, how do we go from a reactive way to solving all this issue to a more predictive way? So these are the three things which, from a CIO standpoint, which if you ask me, the focus area is. One other thing which we are doing, at least from a Sun Life GCC standpoint, is, for the first one, how do we reimagine, is we're trying, see previously if you look at, knowledge was a problem for GCC, because most of the knowledge was sitting at headquarters. Now with all the LLMs, knowledge is no longer a problem. It is up to the individual's ability or passion to gain that information and connect the dots. So that, I think, is becoming, even knowledge is becoming democratized. So we should basically use the models to look at the industry which you are in, how do we take knowledge and have an imagination in terms of how tech can basically use to advance the business process as well. So that's how we are doing for the first part. Second part, on operating completely new way, we are also looking at how our AI native organization working. So we are spending more in terms of people, business, technology. On the people side, both business and IT, we are trying to see what should be the new role look like. So that way we are trying to put a framework in place and then see, because it's going to be a journey. It's not be that we define something and we can start it. So we are basically defining that. And we are starting small so that we just implement this new journey in 2 or 3 initiatives, see how it is, learn from it and proceed. The third part, security, what we are trying to do is, currently most of the vulnerabilities, patches and issues, it's pretty manual. If you look at it, how do we basically take advantage of agents? We define in terms of what should be the vision of, the way we are looking at is, the way we define vision for people, we should define vision for agents. So we're looking at how do we define vision for agents, especially for vulnerabilities and those things in terms of solving those problems faster. And at the same time have human in the loop who can basically look at what the agent has done. So judgment stays with human, execution stays with agent. That would.
Yeah, thanks. I think I love the fact that you are saying that start small, then build trust gradually. So Nihar, what about you? How you guys are managing it?
Thank you. Well, I see it's basically a collaboration has to happen between your C-level, I mean, not necessarily CIO, not everywhere the CIO is the decision making, but we will have the chief revenue officer, the finance officer, or my CTO. So we need to collaborate with them and bring them up to the speed and on board with the idea what we have. Trust definitely is the key or pivotal part to drive any of the initiative here. How you build the trust, again, there are different way, different leadership style they take it. It could be an individual one-on-one. I like the working style of a X person, and then personally, probably I'll initiate a personal rapport with them. Somehow that doesn't work for a long term because with all changing industry, people are changing, the process are changing, the reorgs are happening. So systematically building up trust, I think it's more durable for long term. What we have done is having a regular cadence with the C-suites, be it my CIO or CFO, and of course the CHRO, the Chief Human Officer as well. So all the C-suites, it makes more sense to align with all the new initiatives, how the ROI would look like, where the finance would come, how we will get the people on board. And in that way, they also feel there is a seriousness and with some data and proactive action happening in the GCC. The trust builds over a period of time with more systematic way. The other part is the influence. Of course, as I said earlier, it's wherever we have to go and bring some project or the fund or any initiative, it has to be always data backed. So if we go with the proper data, be it the prior data or be it any kind of POC architecture, proven architecture, that makes more sense. Of course, it has to go in hand, and systematic trust building always takes us in a more stable way.
Yeah, thanks, Nihar. I think what I learned is that trust takes time, and it's a continuous effort to build trust, actually. So let's move to the next question, which is my favorite, which is around culture, actually. So what cultural barriers still limit strategic decision-making power of GCCs? And Arpana, I would want you to take this one.
I'll probably break this into two parts of it, right? So one is, my company is Falabella, right? And we are a retailer, and the region that we actually work is in Latin, right? Which is complete South America. So my headquarters is Chile, right? So if I talk about the actual culture of people, we are very different, right? And not a continent that we have very frequently worked with, right? Plus, they are all Spanish speaking, right? So the language becomes another big barrier, right? But that is one difference which I would say culturally that we have, and many other GCCs also have it. But I think this is something which I feel that all GCCs have kind of matured in this aspect, right? Where we are not looking at a geographical culture or the culture of the people, but the culture of the organization, right? And it is one culture that we actually have, irrespective of what your location, where your GCC is, where the headquarters is, the organization has one culture, right? But the way we operate in the GCCs and the way we operate in the headquarters and the perceptions that are there against a particular GCC which is remote, that still has some limitations, and that is still somewhere where we probably still need to work a lot. Like it is always, it's more like you have ownership of things but without authority, right? I might be owning certain domains, but do I have the authority to innovate and to create and to completely transform this without an authoritative person from headquarters telling me what to do, right? The ideas are generally built there, right, where the business proximity is there, and the execution comes here, right? So that thing is still a lot, which is probably, I would say, between GCCs and the headquarters. And probably that is also why most of your influential roles, right, most of your meetings with your with the stakeholders and everything happens in the time when you are not physically present, right? The physical proximity actually makes you very late in the game, right? By the time the decisions are done, and then you actually enter the party, right? And then you do not have a lot of influence to change certain decisions. So that's always there, and I think that's why it's important for the GCCs to have more and more product presence here, right? And I think we have been pushing this for some time, right? Where the product presence should be there, and where we should be the place where the innovation starts, right? And we could actually help lead the way of transformation and innovation for the business, because now we do understand business. We do understand what actually makes what's the revenue impact of a particular change, right? It's not that the business context is no longer there in GCCs. There's a good level of business context. And one more thing that I would say is probably the visibility aspect, right? While we are remote, I think we have to be there in the difficult situations, so that I think it's more about the trust aspect, right? So the more present you are, the more uncomfortable you make yourself in order to make sure that you are there in the difficult situations, the more influence and the more power that you will actually have gradually, and the trust will actually get built gradually. But I would say this is where, I mean, in summary, I would say the power, where the power is, right? I think that's the key difference, right? If you have the power here, you have the people, maybe you do not have the budget control, right? So there are many things where the power is. I think that's where the difference between headquarters and GCC is still there.
Yeah, thanks, Arpana. Ravindhar, how a product company like yours is managing the cultural barriers which are emerging out of such a partnership?
Oh yeah, culture plays I know it's a very simple word, but it has a profound impact, right? It's a very, very tough to build. It's very challenging at times, because this is not the technology skills alone is going to take some of the things that you do or we are doing will take you to the different levels. So in the sense that, you, first of all, I think many times you might have seen your team member saying that, hey, sir, I have this idea, I want to demo to you, or like, this is a specific initiative that we want to drive in this particular work group that will add some differentiated value and things like that. Now, as a leader, how do you take that particular idea or like, thinking back into your global forum? Many times people may, hey, this is something that they may already be doing it. This might have what you would have had, right? But in fact, that's where actually we need to look at it and saying that, hey, no, not that it is being done, it is already being done. We don't even know whether that's being done in that place or not, right? If you think there is something that we are going to do something different, let us talk about it in a global forum and then, create a buzz around it. See, when people see a value in it, they start adopting it. I think that is like, at the end of the day, it comes down to the mindset, right? Am I playing an equal role in the overall journey of that particular program or a product or like, a thing, right? That's where I have seen many times, we ourselves having that limitation in terms of thinking that, okay, this may already be done. But many cases, believe me, it's not even been done there. Something that we will always kind of, shortcut, right? The second aspect is though these are smaller things, but then make a huge impact. When you have a global teams, make it a practice that, okay, hey, I'm going to have, let's say this week I have a meeting in this particular time zone. Next week I'm going to have a meeting in the other time zone actually, right? So, but most often what happens is that, it's okay, I can have a meeting late in the evening my time because that's maybe convenient for me. And then it may not be convenient. Thinking is that it may not be convenient for the other side actually, but that is not true. We are all playing the same game, and then why can't everybody come on the equal footing? See, that thinking of making it an equal is going to take us a long way. Then that's one part of it. The second part of it is that, hey, when we are having a big product, one of the beliefs that I at least have seen is that unless you're able to collaborate on a bigger platform and large set of people, the impact is limited, right? So we need to continuously strive to make sure that, okay, we are connecting with all our stakeholders and then making sure that, that is being done. Why is it important? As a result of that, we will also create a lot of global roles within the region so that, it is evolving as a decision-making hub rather than a, delivery kind of a hub, right? So you have to have a product owners, you have to have a distinguished technologists, or you have a strategist sitting in these organizations so that, people are looking up to this group to make a decisions. Not that, okay, hey, we have made a decision, so let us execute it. I think those are something that, it's all related to the trust. It's also kind of an influence. It's also like, pursuing to do things that are differently, which are, rather than doing it what's being done. I think those are some of the things I have seen taking organization to a larger scale. Always look at your teams are geographically spread. Then your influence becomes much more broader. Hey, I need to wait for that guy to make a decision. I cannot make a decision without him or her actually. So that changes the equation drastically.
Yeah, thanks. I think both you and Arpana are saying the same thing. So what about you, Anu? How Merck Group is handling these cultural barriers and how they are able to overcome that?
Yeah. So I'll give you this answer in a slightly different way, where I think the first is the mindset. When we are in global scenarios, we have to understand every country, every set of people have different ways of working, different ways to of culture. Sometimes in India, we are also taken that we never say no, but it's not true. It's a stereotype. So how do you exhibit these stereotypes to not percolate it down to your global stakeholders is through ensuring that there is a slight shift of adaptation. You are being able to adapt. So I think first what we do is we have this open understanding of what different cultures are. Like we are a German organization, so we understand Germans are very process oriented, they talk straight, they do not sugarcoat. So that's the way of working. Likewise, from India, when we are giving them insights about the culture, we tell them that we are very heavily integrated, one unit kind of a organization where sense of belonging matters, title matters, how you are showing progress, career progress matters. So these are important aspects to give perspective to leaders, to make them understand what really matters. And also, it's not a one-person journey. Culture is about your organization. So what leaders are doing, walk the talk, is also what will be perceived. So having this walk the talk, even if it's your engineer who has just joined in your workforce or someone who has been there for the 30 years, all of them define the culture. The barriers are in our minds, and if we are being able to change our minds and being able to see perspectives and talking about not self, but more talking about what is best for the organization, because organization do not have any particular region, culture, barrier. The organization is one Merck for us. And then the spirit is that we do it for Merck, and there is very limited interest of self. So I know it's the most practical thing to say that, oh, these are all theoretical, but then a little 40% practice also, if you're being able to do, then you are being able to be at the top leadership, making the cultural definitions. In our, company, we are running a program called, cultural transformation. We have catalysts from different countries. They are talking about how we can bring in a one culture where we are taking inputs not from the senior leaders, but we are taking inputs from the most newest person or, the junior most resources who are coming and saying that what brings me to Merck and what is the culture which defines me to be here and be happy here. So that's how within Merck there are various these kind of cultural integration programs which we really are passionate For our interns, we have a Go Global program so that they understand how do we, bring workforce together, how do we work, give different experiences. So I can just go on, but definitely I think some of the few things which we really do well is understanding each other's culture, respecting what really matters, and also coming to a midpoint and not be in extremes.
Yeah, thanks. I think there are a lot of learnings here in this group. My next question is to you, Biju. How do you balance local innovation with global governance? So how SAP Labs is managing?
So I can answer from my enterprise application development point of view, right? I mean, so there are global, I think both are kind of reinforcing each other, right? You need to have innovation run on the governance framework smoothly without any hindrance. There can be global governance framework on architectural topics, can be on data privacy, it can be on cybersecurity. These are all guardrails which will help you to build your product without crossing the line of compliance, right? It will save you from litigation or other challenges that may come in, in the future. So on the other side, as leaders, we also have to ensure that there is local innovation clusters, right? Thrive. Right? We have to create a climate for thriving within the framework that we already have on a global governance, and that's a leader's responsibility. I think leaders have to act as a bridge, doing a balancing act, right? I mean, luckily in our country, I think in my organization, a lot of people are global leaders who owns the product lines globally, build in India and scale it up and sell it in Middle East or Africa. So these people understand the global scenario pretty well. At the same time, they also understand the need to develop locally and build up for the entire continent or the world, right? So, so if you look at things like AI development now today in my company, there is an AI ethics assessment committee. If you want to develop a new AI use cases, you have to go through a process of assessing for AI ethics of the software that you're going to develop. So before you embarking the development itself, you need to calculate the business value that you create out of this AI. So that framework also is another, governance mechanism. So unless you create value out of your development, you are not allowed to invest. Because randomly, with Gen AI coming in, everybody started building prototype and POCs, and challenges of scaling up comes later. So the journey to the productization start at the time of POC itself, right, with building this framework. So my opinion, both go in hand in hand. And as leaders, we have to build more transparency on this topic to our own development teams. So if you're in banking domain, the developers should know that, right, there are regulatory framework, it's a very secured environment, you need to develop within that boundary circles. So it's more about building more awareness and ensuring that path is followed, is what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Biju. Lekha, how a pharma company like yours is managing this?
This is a very interesting question. Thanks. I mean, this is a real, issue. There is almost like a unseen scorecard where global one and local one, which ones goes through. While this does exist, there hasn't. I don't think we have reached that, that fine balance. But where it works very well is when global defines, the outer boundaries, like how Biju was saying, they define the perhaps a compliance architecture, there is controls, and for the LM, what models work, but they shouldn't try to own the ideas. So a market that is closest to the issue knows the workflow better. They understand the the required user experience, and so it's better that they develop. And how AstraZeneca is also set up is there is a bit of a division where we adhere to Asia markets. Like my team looks mostly closely to the Asia markets. So we have that cultural context, what we were talking earlier, right, brought into this, and how users will be using, and it gets developed. In all the governance, the major aspect is it should be agile and it should be fast. If it isn't, people will find a different way to get that done, and that is where all the drift starts. As long as we can create a system with, of course, global guidance, but where something gets done. Maybe we are not be able to create the first time the standard template you wanted and the way it is ready for scale, but it should be ready enough for the, to start something. The next market should be able to use this, have an architectural outline, a reusable facts ready, and then they can build on. With 1 or 2 markets, you will get to that point where things are more structured and this, but the takeaway is, make it fast, ensure that whatever is the dazzle doesn't get reflected to the business, they get the outcome fast, and let the local do it and global put the guardrails around it.
Good. So that means that your company is giving lot of opportunities to the local talent to come up actually. So I would ask Yogesh now to share some thoughts around this same, how Diageo is managing this.
Yeah, so Diageo is a global organization, and prior to that I was with Shell for 10 years. Again, it was a global organization. So governance play a very significant role while managing any delivery or any portfolio or any project. So I have seen the ways of working evolved over the period of time. So it was not like one team is working in a closed room and delivering the project in a one standard set, and over the period of time, same set of rules, same set of guidelines, same set of communications, and they are delivering the project. Now the governance has layered approach. So layered approach means it is a local governance, they are including the local management, local people, local teams, which also includes the vendors. They have also some say to contribute and add some values and feedback and input to improvisation in the delivery ways of working. If it is a global product or a global kind of a delivery, then it also depends which market you are targeting. So the representation from the each market will also play a very significant role. You can't go with the blanket kind of a guidelines for each market. And suppose Diageo and Shell, I am taking an example. We have defined the governance in previous kind of a deliveries, where suppose APAC region, and in APAC also there is a different kind of a markets who have a different priorities, different kind of a challenges, different kind of competition with their competitors. They have a different priorities accordingly. So definitely delivery has a very diverse ways of working. So accordingly it should be structured. In the global perspective, when it also depends how frequently we need to involve them and what are the boundaries for them. I take an example, suppose if global product or any delivery is happening, then global management is also have a say, where we have to take very critical or very big decisions, and we will be also having some comparative analysis on the options to be done. It means in the governance, how it is playing a role, depending upon the market, depending on the product, depending upon the evolving needs, and depending upon how the trends over the market is changing. It is not that we are starting with one mindset that we are going to deliver in 1 year this particular product, and we are going just blindly to deliver that. I have seen over the period of time, there are different inputs are coming, and the journey which starts with kind of a one mindset, it evolves and it takes another shapes while we are delivering, because it is always evolving, and all these comes with the inputs from the different sectors and different segments and how we are communicating to them, right? So the ways of communication is also play a role, how the delivery is happening over the period of time, and we receive the inputs. And it is not the one way of communication that one delivery team is representing the progress, but it is also kind of a forum where we do some kind of a taking inputs, doing the prioritization, value stream to be calculated, and overall that when we summarize the discussion in a boardroom, we take what are the key preferences. So I have seen the governance, by the governance and the contributions and the input, the priorities keep on getting changes. Ultimately, the end goal is how the organization or delivery team is generating the business value over the period of time.
Yeah, thank you. I think there are a lot of learnings here. Nihar, how your organization is managing this? Is it managing it some different way?
Yeah. So our company is more into the SaaS, AI SaaS product. So the innovation is enormous in the local side or in the India side. While there are some driving force, like our local talents are excellent local talent we have, and all the engineering tools what we have at this moment, they help us to rapidly scale, rapidly create some POC. Experimentation is very fast. So while the innovation is very fast paced, we also need to ensure that the governance is in place, just to ensure that we are not missing any of for example, our regulatory exposure or the data residency rules, or maybe it could be customer SLA. So there are multiple areas we touch. What we have done within our organization is we have created like 3 different lanes, like a sandbox lane where the developer or the technical team is given with all the pre-approved tools, the pre-approved vector databases, sanitized data without PI, and where they can explore, come out with all their innovation idea, and then we have an intake process. So once you have some idea which you can tangibly say that yes, this can be done, bring it to the intake process, and there is a group who will review that, ensure that there is no duplication, we are not getting into any regulatory breach or any kind of data residency issue, and then there we can choose the right model, the prompting. It could be the data storage where it could store, and then there is a production lane. So production lane is a very dedicated team who takes that and move it to production to ensure that all the review, kind of regulatory review or the governance review, whatever has been found, is taken care before we go to production. Now, this 3 lane ensure that the innovation is at peak without hampering the speed, while we also ensure that we are not running into any kind of breach in the governance. Because at any point, if governance is heavy, we go back to the cost center era where we just do the delivery, no improvement or no innovation. On the other side, if we go disruptly on the innovation side, we will be more focused on the new things, and we will be having security breach, the regulatory, and get into the all year problems. So yeah, we have this 3 lane. So different company has put some flag there, so it works for us.
Yeah, actually, good. We asked this question to you. So a global intake process is the way how you are managing things. With this, I'm coming to the last question of this particular talk. And this is a good question. What advice would you give first-time GCC leaders stepping into global roles? So Swami.
Yeah, thank you. I would say basically look at differently, right? So one of the things I would say is first build trust, as all of us are talking about. Because many times what happens is when we are having conversation with our global counterparts, the focus is more in terms of what we can offer. I think the focus should be more in terms of what are the challenges our global counterparts or headquarters is having, and what is it that you can contribute to solve the problem. Because once you start having conversation in terms of partnering with them, I think the trust is built, right? And second thing I would say is pivot your conversation from numbers to value. With AI coming in, I think there is a way where we may not be growing in numbers. I think the focus should be how do we grow in value. So what are the value we can generate being small in number? That is going to be a critical aspect. Third, focus on domain, especially since technology is going to be democratized. Most of the GCC leaders, the focus, especially who are in IT or in products, we focus a lot of our time on engineering aspect of it. I think that is something is not going to be, that is everybody is doing now. So what is going to be make you differentiating is if you have domain, you will be able to differentiate along with other counterparts that you have, right? And then pick one area where you can go deeper. For example, in my case, I had to pick something I'm passionate about or something which people are not touching, right? So I picked AI governance, which people, most of them were not finding it interesting. I said, okay, let me pick that up. Because the advantage of picking something where people are not touching is there you can explore and come up with solution, which is something which you can make that as a passion and you don't have competition as well. And go deeper and do hands-on, because one of the things which I noticed previously I was not able to do hands-on because technology languages was so much vast, right? It was way too difficult to keep yourself abreast. With AI, specs-driven development, everything, you can basically go deeper. So I would say pick one area where you can go hands-on, because one of the things that is going to differentiate you is when tomorrow you are asking people to change. If you are changing by becoming hands-on, you are basically leading by example. And the last thing I would say is, if you have to build, because the way industry is moving, the future is building AI native organization. So what is AI native organization? So maybe read a lot and look at where your organization is currently, where AI native organization has to go. There's a journey from A to B, right? So in that journey, what should you define in terms of people career path for your career path? And in future, you will be handling a team of agents and people. So you should have even career path for your agents as well, right? So as part of AI native, think in terms of what should your team and organization should look like. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Anu, you have been heading Merck Group, so what advice you have for a first-time GCC leader who is going into a global role?
So basically, we learn from our mistakes. So one of the things which I would really emphasize is, let's not be pleasers and let's be leaders. Because it's going to be very, very important that if you are setting up a GCC, that means you are heading a center of capabilities. And if you're not selling your capabilities well, and then why I say sell is because you have to showcase what the center is capable of. There could be very different priorities in your headquarters, but if you're not being able to showcase what you can create, what you can innovate, like we were hearing Nihar saying that there is so much innovation which happens, we will always be in this explanation mode of why your center. And I think the first thing for GCCs is to establish the connect, have a voice on your table. It's very, very critical and it's very important. I would always say, I think my leadership team is also here, is that all of us are Spocks and we all are ambassadors of our own center and our own capabilities. We have to talk it out loud. If you don't talk it out loud, if you don't go and bring yourself out, if you don't showcase, no one really bothers because jo dikhta nahi hai, wo bikta nahi hai, right? And you have to show what your center is capable of innovating, because at the end, it is important because, again, the mindset from headquarters is they are cutting jobs there. They are bringing it to another country. There is anxiety already. And everyone would want to, and let's be honest, everyone would want to not get successful over here, because then you can bring back jobs to the other countries which we are getting right as a privilege because we are capability centers. So having that acceptance that it's not about one person's story, it is about collective win, and it is for the organization is critical for anyone who is setting that up. Have strong voices, come out of the, I'm going to be a little more crude here, slavery mindset. We do not really need to be there. We are the technology front-enders. We are the leaders. Have that confidence, have that success. Repeating it again, stop being pleasers, start being leaders.
Yeah, thanks, Anu. Yogesh, what about you?
So I would say as now GCC are emerging. So in case anybody is aspiring to grow in GCC, so what trend has been changing is, as a leader, they have to not be limited to their verticals or within their teams, but they should be more aware and awake about the cross verticals, what is happening across the organization, what the term means, kind of innovative ideas are happening. So as Swami mentioned about, always be specialized in one particular stream, but it should not be untouched with other streams. We should be having a working knowledge of other streams. So this is the second part. Third part is more importance. You should be having a kind of a urge to have a continuous learning and be innovative in bringing some kind of a improvisation in ways of working. Very important thing is from the GCC specifically, if we are not GCC, awareness about the what business is doing, what decisions business is making, what are their key products, what key decisions they are making in terms of investment or divestment, why they are doing, so what is their kind of a long-term goal, how your small project or small initiative is contributing to business strategic goal. That is very, very important. When you are speaking with the business leader, you should not be talking about what you are delivering, but you should be talking of how your one step or one maybe small contribution is putting a big effort to achieving the strategic goal. They should be know that he knows the business, he knows the value, he is aware about what is our kind of a long-term goals. So that plays a very significant role. So it is not about the previous ways of working. Previously, what used to happen, the people are coming, they're working in a set of peoples, they come and work in the same set of rooms, they're doing whatever is deliverable, what is the means RACI metric says, what is their kind of a deliverables, or projects scope is saying that deliver, go back home and enjoy. So that was old ways of working. New ways of working is all about you have to be awake, aware, and kind of a enlightened about what is happening not only within your domain, but also from the market. What is the threats are happening, what are the technologies are happening. So nowadays, basically AI, cloud, cyber security, these are the technologies. So should be all aware about day by day. So these are the things we should be developing ourselves day by day.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I had a great learning session today. I learned that one has to be of a collaborative mindset to be able to sustain and excel in a GCC leadership kind of a scenario. I also learned that we need to take away the slavery mindset and actually try to be a leader and sell the capabilities of our GCC. Also culture, eat strategy for breakfast, that also I learned. And I also learned that we need to continue to scale up things by adding different capabilities. That is why GCCs are called global capability centers. So I would like to thank the esteemed panel and also thank the audience for being patient and having, and with this, I think we conclude this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our panel. Now we would love to invite questions from you all to our panel. Do we have any questions in the audience? You can just raise your hands and the mics will find you.
My name is Jyoti and I'm from Sun Life, work with Swami. It's a pleasure to be here. There's a lot of conversation, of course, around governance. And the latest I'm hearing is AI-ready data, meaning that the data is a lot, but are they ready to be consumed for our AI agents? Now, I would like to hear perspective how different companies are thinking about AI-ready data and where they are in the journey.
I think the mic, can you repeat the question once again? Can we have the mic volume go up a little bit?
data to... Yeah, so I can take some examples from my organizations, right? Now there's a lot of things that you can actually do with data, right? And some of these use cases that you might have will be very complex. In some cases, you might have some low-hanging fruits, right? So what we are actually looking at is, one is some I'm from the retail background, so our GCC is into a retail, right? Now the power of LLMs and the data that we have that we will actually use for RAG, content generation is something which comes very naturally to these LLMs, right? So for our retails, our product enrichment, the catalog enrichment, making sure that the images are there, you have the right description, you have the right titles, right? With your already existing catalog data, which is your RAG to your LLM, I think that becomes a very easy and a low-hanging fruit, right? So, and those are the bets that you can easily take, right? Then you might have more complex use cases where you probably want to consolidate everything, you want to capture signals from every customer, every click, every interaction that a customer or probably a seller is actually happening on your site. You want to consolidate that and you want to make the right recommendations in order to increase the revenue of your system, right? That's a more complex because it needs unification of data from so many different platforms that you might actually have internally, right? And that's a little longer journey and you have to take it step by step. You might have some smaller wins in between, but you still have to go to that longer bet, and we have already started that journey, right? But yes, we know that that journey might take a year and two, but we do not wait for that, but we wait for other opportunities, we pick up other opportunities on the way.
You know, that's an interesting question, mostly because if I were to rephrase your question, right, it was about how do you get the data ready to be ready for AI consumption? Now, this is a tough sell to business because we're telling, before I give you the final input, you fund me to clean this. Now we have done this multiple cycles, right? We have cleaned the data once for every new technological cycle and saying, now we are ready to use it for the next level. Now when it comes to AI, the handwritten notes, the discussion our MR had with HCP, all this we have not captured so far. And now suddenly this data we know we can use, and that perhaps has the crux into every prescription that goes in. So we have not captured. So one is many of the data points which we have historically not systematically captured, we need to start. So there is a gap. There's a gap in the data there. In other places, we have to be matching the data type which we were struck before, we have truncated the information into bits. For example, even if just because Aviva data type is small text, you have truncated a lot information you had into few sentences, and now the AI can only do so much with that data. So that there again, the larger technological constraint perhaps may render the new agents not so powerful, but then, as Arpita said, we are creating more content, we are adding in more, and it is developing fast. So the true power of the AI agents perhaps will unveil in another 2 years when we put in these learnings, get the data more enriched, convert some of the things which now is in different pockets in the organization into a consumable information.
Thank you so much for the answer. And that's a wrap to our first panel discussion. Let's thank all our panelists for taking us on such a fascinating journey. Let's hear one more round of applause for our panelists.